どうもどうも皆さん、今週の漫画ラウンジへ。私の名前は七海健人と申します。今週の漫画ラウンジは呪術廻戦第128話渋谷事変45ですね。皆さんもくれぐれと渋谷でのハロウィンを気をつけてください。ではでは参りましょう。今週の漫画ラウンジへ行ってみよう。Alright, everyone, welcome. Thank you so much. I figured Halloween is close, and I've been kind of keeping this one in the bank. I'm going with my boy Nanami. I really haven't done a little dressing up costume kind of deal in such a long time, and since a good 10 years or so now, maybe. But I figured, hey, if I'm going to dive back in and got to do it with my favorite character. Maybe I'll have a Todo one down the road too, but I probably have to cut up a little bit. But anyways, yeah. I know my costume isn't perfect, but I've even got the blade here. Real handle. I kind of threw it together with a few different trial and error and a few different ingredients. So. Turned out pretty well though, if I do say so myself. My necktie as well. Just kind of got a brush and did the thing. And I know my glasses aren't quite the real deal, but it's swimming goggles and it works just fine. And the suction works pretty well to just stick onto the face. So if you ever need a Nanami Kento goggles idea, maybe this is the one to do it. They have welding glasses too that are basically the exact same design as Nanami's, but they're like this big, so it didn't really work out for me. But yeah, let me get this suction going a little bit better here, and I've also fixed it so I do have the little holster in the back here, and yes, it does attach properly, but I think I might put together a video one of these days to kind of show off the full costume. I got the suit and the shoes and all that good stuff, so and I need to figure out something to do with the watch, because Lord knows I'm not going to be paying $4,000 for a tag heuer. But yeah, let's get into this week's Jujutsu Kaisen chapter. We've got chapter 128, Shibuya Incident Part 45, so we're still going strong here. And of course, past couple weeks we've been treated to Todo showing up, and of course that kind of led us to think whether the rest of Kyoto school would show up as well. And we do have our answer here. It seems that Mekamaru did kind of, I guess with his cursed energy, he was able to manipulate the documents for Kyoto school, and he doctored it so that he would have Miwa as well as the rest of the crew here on the train somewhere else, somewhere far from Tokyo when this whole thing was happening. But clearly they caught wind of the situation and they are on their way to Tokyo. It makes it sound like this is pretty late in the game. It's probably around 11:30 already. We're kind of made to believe that this is right around the time that Todo and Yuji are fighting Mahito. So yeah, if they're still on their way, it could be a little bit late. We don't know where Gakuganji Sensei is, the principal. Of course, they can't send everyone from Kyoto either. I was actually surprised to see this many on the train. You never know if they send too many people from Kyoto side, all of a sudden Kyoto becomes a vulnerability as well, right? But anyways, we are shown Miwa here. And of course, on page 2, I said Mekamaru making the decision that Todo as well as Nita together as kind of a pair. Todo specifically, but if Nita is with Todo, that it would actually be a really good combination, and their chances of survival would be very, very high. As far as Miwa is concerned, it was kind of a running joke, the whole, hey, Miwa the Useless here, if you remember from the Goodwill event arc. But it's kind of flips it on his head that Miwa does really feel that she, that pressure, that kind of guilt of feeling useless. She kind of threw it off as a joke before, but now it's really starting to kind of hit her, right? And then as Mekamaru kind of keeps on going on, saying that it's, he was weak. He bent the knee to fake Geto as well as Mahito. He didn't really care. He wanted to just he didn't care what happened to the world as long as he was the one, was able to be by Miwa's side, sacrificing a great deal in order to get his body back. And a very kind of something very hard here. He's kind of talking about how maybe it's Miwa. He made this assumption maybe that Miwa didn't even, really think the same of Mekamaru. And of course, Miwa here is shedding tears and stuff, but it's a little unclear whether she really liked Mekamaru. Although I think it would be wrong to say that their relationship was completely platonic. I mean, Miwa obviously a very friendly person, and women will be women. I've had my fair share of experience with that as well. You kind of mistake a friendly attitude for something more. Men are weak like that sometimes, but clearly she cared for Mekamaru, whatever level that may be, and then Mekamaru with the classic, just be happy. As long as you're happy, I'll be happy kind of deal. Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm sure if you've read it already, you don't need me to go into too deep of an analysis on this. A very sad moment, obviously, but then we kind of flashed outside the door here, and we see that Mai, Kamo, Utahime Sensei, as well as Momo here, which I've talked about this on my Twitter thread about, anytime you have this kind of big battle against big battle, the Shonen Jump trope is almost to kind of have those matchups, the dream matchups, right? And of course, with Kamo in play, Kamo up against Choso would be very interesting. The blood manipulation versus the blood manipulation. Mai, if she runs into Maki in some form or another, as well as Naobito will be there as well, maybe kind of working together, setting aside their differences for now. We don't even know what's going on with Maki or Naobito anyways, but Momo would be able to perhaps survey from the sky a little bit. So that could be an interesting kind of surveillance tactic. Utahime Sensei, we know very, very little about her. Even in the flashback, we didn't even see what her ability really would be. So perhaps we could be, but we know she's very strong. She's a grade 1 sorcerer, and she's certainly no slouch. And they're kind of talking here about how, and even Momo, kind of going on about how I'm gonna crush whoever makes my, Q juniors cry. So it's kind of a bittersweet moment here, because obviously Mekamaru did what he did, but his classmates, his friends here are able to kind of perhaps set that aside a little bit. But Miwa, I hope she gets it together before they get to Shibuya. And also Miwa, I think, could be a very, very key role. Miwa is also a very good pairing with perhaps Kusakabe Sensei. Remember, they both use the new shadow style, both sword wielders, so they could be a very interesting pair here. And also, I have kind of a wild theory that perhaps Miwa's kind of the bato, the sword drawing technique, could be very interesting as well. Todo has that necklace around his neck, obviously, right? And I think perhaps that necklace is imbued with a certain amount of cursed energy, and he might actually use it to switch with something or someone. So my crazy theory is that perhaps he'll kind of throw it, and then he'll switch it with Miwa perhaps, and then as Mahito is kind of falling into that circle, she'll use the bato. I don't know, just kind of, fun idea to play with. There's so many different possibilities. So, but then we flash back to Shibuya, and we have Mahito holding his own against Todo and Itadori, obviously. So he's even with Todo in play, it doesn't mean that he's being overwhelmed necessarily by any means. And then Todo, I also pointed out on my Twitter as well that I kind of noticed that Todo uses a lot of kicks, and you know, kicks in general are just very strong. You know, you have martial arts such as Taekwondo to, you know, take advantage of the reach, for example, or just a kick is stronger than a punch. But the thing with a kick, and the reason I love this detail, the reason why Todo uses kicks so much, it leaves the hands open. And I love that detail. When I kind of realized that, I was like, man, that's why, you know, we've seen Todo use kicks a lot, even in the previous fights, like against Hanami and Itadori. He used it kind of sparingly because he didn't really think of Itadori as quite a high. But he certainly used it against Hanami, and he's making sure to keep his hands open here against Mahito. So that's a very cool detail. I like how Mahito here also calls Todo Top Knot Gorilla. He calls him Chonmage Gorilla. So basically, yeah, Top Knot Gorilla. And so Todo is at full HP, so to speak. He's at 100%. So even if Mahito were to able to get the touch here, it's unclear, you know, how much control Todo kind of has over his cursed energy. Like Nanami, for example, when he was touched, he was kind of subconscious. They described it as subconsciously protecting the soul. And perhaps Todo has a certain level of intel here as well. So perhaps he is subconsciously or even consciously kind of protecting the soul as well. So Mahito kind of fiddling with his options here, whether even touching him once would be enough. Mahito goes on to explain that with Itadori, it's only at about 10%. But at the same time, we have to remember, and you know, I was kind of reminded last chapter why Mahito isn't using his domain expansion, and it's obviously the threat with Sukuna, right? So even, you know, Mahito wouldn't be able to just touch Itadori and use the transfiguration without incurring the death that is from Sukuna. So but then on page 10 here, he kind of goes on to describe that he himself is at 40%. So we actually have kind of numbers here, which is interesting, you know, kind of gives us an idea of what we're looking at, you know, going on to quote that, you know, the double being crushed, the rush of attacks, Black Flash, all that, you know, and a lot of because of that stupid girl Nobara. But, you know, then we kind of move on to page 11, and Todo able to sense the little transfigured human there, and Mahito, it really catches Mahito off guard. So Mahito didn't really know this fact that apparently he can switch with things that even have kind of a little amount of cursed energy as well. Obviously, we have to remember that Boogie Woogie was described by Todo himself as being able to switch with anything that has cursed level above a certain degree. So perhaps, you know, the transfigured human just as is wouldn't really be able to have enough cursed energy to switch with. But as soon as Mahito sort of activated it, and you kind of see on the previous page here where it just kind of boom, kind of has that aura, then Todo's able to go like, oh, I see it, and then boom, he's able to switch with it. But then we have a little quote here by Todo saying, if you're okay with the way you are now, our friendship won't last. That's the, if you don't remember, those are the words that Todo said to Itadori when they first fought in the Goodwill event arc. You know, kind of they're becoming a little bit friendly, becoming brothers, and then, you know, Todo in this crazy kind of like brotherhood mindset saying to Itadori, our friendship won't last if you're this weak, you know. But now I like how he kind of flips it on the head here again, kind of similar earlier with Miwa kind of taking this phrase and flipping it again, you know. So he's recognizing the fact that he's the only one that can't use Black Flash yet, that he's actually the one getting left behind by Itadori now, which I don't know how true that is. It's a little bit of an exaggeration if you ask me, but I think Todo would still kick Itadori's butt in a straight up fight. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But then I like how he is kind of hyping himself up here, saying, "Are you gonna let your brother feel alone again, Aoi Todo?" And then he comes with the black flash kick. Again, he's further emphasizing the point that he's sticking to the kicks to keep his hands open again here, right? If what if he misses, or what if Mahito is able to immediately counteract, do a black flash punch, then all of a sudden he wouldn't be able to switch, right? Now, it's not like this is the only time that we've seen Black Flash not being punched, because when Nobara did it, alongside Yuji with at the Yasuhachi Bridge arc, it made it seem as though like she was able to do like a Black Flash like hammer attack or something, right? So it's remember, the concept of Black Flash is nothing more than just being able to apply a certain level of cursed energy within a certain time frame of a physical attack. So even if it's a kick, if it's a hammer hit, or even if it's I don't know what else, like, if you were to take a jack-o'-lantern and hit someone with that, but apply a certain amount of cursed energy, theoretically it would work, right? And the thing with Black Flash too now, it seems like it's going to become one of those kind of things that right now it's, we get this double page spread and all that, but perhaps it's going to, as the manga goes on, perhaps it's going to become one of those kind of things where they don't necessarily say Black Flash every single time someone uses it. It's becoming a little bit commonplace here now. When it was first described, it was like, this is a move that like you can't do out of will. It just kind of happens, so to speak. And they showed Gojo, Udahime, I think it was Nanami, and Ino as the 4 people that have only been able to use it before. Now we have Nobara, Yuji, and Todo here can use it now too. So that's a lot of people. But anyways, Mahito saying, that's a strong hit, but, it doesn't matter if you can't hit my soul, which is an interesting, that's why Nobara was so effective again too, right? Because she was able to directly target the soul. So perhaps, Todo landed Black Flash here, but Mahito is only at, with this Black Flash connecting, maybe only at like 37%. Considering he was at 40% before this Black Flash, so maybe not as effective as Todo thinks. But then we get treated immediately to another amazing double page here, pages 14 and 15. We've brought out 100%, 120% of each other's potential, and I love the the little kiss here by Todo. I love his cockiness and stuff too, right? So great. But what a amazing 2-page spread here. It's absolutely cool. That's like poster worthy right there. But then Mahito clearly has a lot more of these transfigured humans up in his body here, and then he uses soul multiplicity, body repel on all of them, or maybe he still has a couple left in reserve, I don't know, but he causes quite a commotion here. And it's crazy because on page 18 on the bottom here, Todo, as he's kind of thinking to himself, like, so he's attacking from all sides to kind of counteract my switch thing, but his face here has got it's a little bit serious, so even someone of Todo's caliber is certainly kind of on all his on his best behavior, so to speak, right? Although he has enough in the tank to throw a kiss, but but then Mahito's saying, "Hey, time to kick it up a notch. This is our last chance to curse each other." So whether that's meant to be something that's quite literal, I don't know. Perhaps it is Akutami Sensei saying like, this is it. And I've had my theories on this for a while now. I get asked this question all the time for I don't know why, but you know, people like to kind of theorize about who's going to die or what's going to happen next or this and that. I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen is very much still kind of in its infancy. Maybe not quite infancy, but we still got a long way to go, I think, with Jujutsu Kaisen. It's going to be quite a long series. You know, we're at 128 chapters here. I would be really surprised, and who knows? I mean, this is anyone's guess, and I'll probably have another video kind of talking about this stuff. But I'd be really surprised if Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't go on for at least, you know, 250 chapters or so. And I don't know if Mahito is really. And when you think about long manga series, right? You know, when a manga is kind of still early in the stages, but you run into a very strong boss, you think, oh man, this guy he's like endgame level baddie. But then it turns out that they were, you know, it's like Dragon Ball, for example. Yeah, Frieza was really strong, but you know, then came Cell, then came Buu, and even with like Naruto and Bleach and One Piece. You know, so we have to kind of consider the potential length of Jujutsu Kaisen, whether Mahito is really meant to be kind of this big bad or not. And I think that there are a lot of other shadows lurking, so to speak. We still don't have an answer on fake Geto, and I think there is still a lot of room for a lot more expansion. You know, we don't know anything about Tengen and what his deal is. Perhaps Tengen could end up going berserk. You know, there's that threat of if Tengen doesn't get his star plasma vessel, he could become an enemy to mankind. That sounds a lot more endgame baddie than Mahito does, if you ask me. Perhaps Mahito will evolve somehow, though, because he is definitely he's the personification, the manifestation of all negative human emotions just in general, right? Anger, fear, and all that. And Jujutsu Kaisen is very much based on that concept. So who knows? Maybe Mahito will be kind of lurking for a while, but it could very well be that he gets defeated here too. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's hard to, you know, maybe he will get away. Maybe he will run away, but I don't know. It seems, Mahito really seems like he's here. He's decided, I'm going to either die here or I'm either going to kill Yuji here. So I don't think he's going to be running away, if you ask me. So it's fun to think about. Pretty much all I got to say really for this week's chapter. Of course, got a little bit of sentimental moments with Miwa at the beginning with the Kyoto crew, so it'll be interesting to see how they kind of play into Shibuya, or whether they really will get to Shibuya in time. Just because they're introduced doesn't necessarily mean that they will be really participating. Like, it's kind of late now, you know. If they're not already there, it could be a little bit late. But, you know, there is always Geto, fake Geto, and what's going on with Mei Mei, too. It's been a while since that fight in terms of time. That was like over an hour ago. So perhaps Mei Mei, you know, Mei Mei is not beyond being swayed with a little bit of moolah to fight for the baddies. Who knows? Although her kind of inner monologue about, like, you know, when she first ran into fake Geto and was like, this guy's not this and that, and, you know, he's not the real Geto, like, I have to figure out a way to defeat him and this and that, but kind of makes it suggest that she is, you know, for all her, you know, eccentricities, she is kind of a good guy, so to speak. But who knows? And there is also Todo's little line about, I don't need to tell him about that right now. You know, we saw last chapter. Could be anything. I thought, you know, perhaps it was about Kyoto school or something like that, but I don't know if that's true anymore, considering we got our answer right away. It could be about Toge. It could be about maybe Yuta. He knows that Yuta is on the way. I don't know. It's although I don't know if Yuta is really going to be in play here. Although it would be cool to see him do his superhero landing and enter the fray. Maybe it's about Panda. Although Panda still has one form that he hasn't revealed yet, and we're not even sure if it's bad or good news. You know, it could be good news too. He just didn't bother telling Itadori at that moment because he feels it would kind of break his concentration, so to speak, if he becomes complacent by giving him this good news and this kind of false hope, perhaps. Just because you're keeping intel from someone doesn't necessarily mean that it's always bad, right? So we'll see. But hey, I gotta say thank you so much for coming by this week. Hope you like the little get up, and this is my little tribute to him, I guess. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the amazing support that you guys have been showing on the channel lately. You know, been seeing a lot of very kind words of support and all that. But hey, hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe out there, and we will see you in the next episode. All right. Mataraishu.